Shalom and good afternoon. Greetings from Jerusalem, Jane. Up close and personal, coming to you with a news update out of Israel. My voice is a little bit squeaky, so please bear with me. The security situation here in Israel is very high. Israeli media said yesterday that we are on the highest alert of a level of alert. I think that's how it's supposed to be. I'm sorry. And this happens after special forces. These guys are just the coolest of the coolest. They went into Nablus yesterday. There was a big terrorist cell in Nablus who had already carried out terror attacks. Some of these terrorists had taken part in the murder of an IDF soldier, and they were planning new terror attacks. Normally, these kind of raids from these special forces, Israeli forces, happened overnight. So it's always a clear indication that when they do that in the daytime, it's because they are trying to prevent an imminent terror attack. So these special forces came into Nablus and they surrounded a house where some of these known terrorists were located, and instead of giving themselves up, they started firing at the Israeli Defense Forces. And they were attacked in several places of Nablus, being attacked by gunfire, mortar cocktails, explosive devices. So there was a lot of gun battle going on back and forth, and in total 10 terrorists was taken out yesterday. Some of them were members of Hamas, Islamic Jihad, some of the different terror organizations who actually went out saying, yes, the ones that were killed were our members. And more than 100 people were wounded. So it was a massive, massive operation. The good thing is that there was no injured in the Israeli Defense Forces by the terrorists. There was a couple of soldiers who were slightly injured by friendly fire. So thank you to the Israeli Defense Forces and these special units who did a great job yesterday. Of course, Hamas and these terror organizations were out immediately condemning the Zionist enemy, out condemning the occupations, saying that there would be revenge. And that's why there was a heightened level of alert in Israel yesterday. The Israeli security establishments were out saying we are participating or expecting that there will be some sort of retaliations. So things were high alert, especially in Jerusalem and in Judea and Samaria. So the revenge or the response came overnight around 4 o'clock this morning. Sirens went off in the communities next to the Gaza border, and people started running for their lives when 6 rockets were fired towards Israel. Thank goodness that Israel has the Iron Defense missile system, who took down 5 of these rockets. I think the other one landed in an open area. So no injuries, no damages, no casualties, but massive amount of trauma again for the people living right next to the Gaza border, who has 10 seconds to find shelters when these rockets are being fired. We can't even begin to fathom the trauma that these people are living under. And remember, I saw a TV interview where someone was asked, why don't you move? And they were like, why should we? This is our country. This is our home. And you are absolutely right. So things are on high alert here in Israel. Also going into the weekend, going in tomorrow to Friday, after Friday's prayer. For the next 48 hours, we are going to see if there's going to be another major escalation here in Israel. But you know, things has been tense for a long time. I actually want to show you this beautiful, I hope you can see her, this beautiful young girl, 19 years old. Her name is Uri Anspager. Today, 4 years ago, she was out walking in the outskirts of Jerusalem, and an Arab terrorist had left his house with the intention, this was his own testimony, with the intention to go out and murder a Jew. And his path he came across this beautiful 19-year-old innocent Jewish girl, and he attacked her, and they started fighting, and he started stabbing her, and he also savagely raped her, and then he stabbed her to death 4 years ago today. I remember that day because I went into a dark hole. It was so horrendous. I will never forget. I broadcasted about it and I cried on those broadcasts because it was so horrendous. I couldn't hide it. And I have had people saying, Jane, it's been a while since you made your live broadcast on your Israel One Nation page on Facebook. There are two reasons. One is that I am active on all my social media platforms, so where to choose to go live. Normally it has been on that Facebook page because that's where I started out, and that's where I have nearly 210,000 followers. But I have to be honest with you, with the threats that I have received over the years to my life by Arabs following me around, threatening me, saying, next time we see you, gonna cut your throat. That was something that really impacted me. And then I have come to terms with my destiny. I have come to terms with what God called me to do. And many times God gives us 3 or 4 things that this is what I want you to do. Don't go left, don't go right, stay on the path. And many times God has told me, Jane, stay in your lane. Since I became Jerusalem Jane, which was not by choice, like I said, I know God sent me here. And over the years, it just became clear to me that that was to be a voice in the media for 2 reasons. Comfort my people, and tell the truth about what the Jewish people has to endure. And I can only do that by being God's girly boots on the ground. That's it. That's it. Over the years, I've had a lot of people criticizing me, saying, you don't say this, or you don't do this, or you don't do this. I would do this and this, and I'm like, fine, why don't you do it? I will continue to walk on the path that I know God has called me to do. And that is to share to all of you about the security situation, because you don't hear it in mainstream media. Many Christian groups, they are coming here, they're traveling in the footsteps of Jesus, they're doing their Christian tour, and they leave and they know nothing. They hear nothing about the security situation. They don't talk to soldiers. They don't go to the Gaza border. They don't meet someone who has lost someone in a terror attack, which means you don't know what's going on here. And it's a shame. It's really, really a shame. So I know God called me here to be the one who's sharing about this. I have talked about every single terror attack in this country since I came here. I have shared with you the shooting, the stabbing, the ramming, the stone buses, the 2 5- and 8-year-old Jewish brothers who was brutally murdered by a Palestinian Arab terrorist who saw them stand at a bus stop, and he took his car and with full speed he just crushed them to death. I have shared about Orion Spaga, who was savagely raped and stabbed to death for no other reason than being Jewish. You don't hear it in mainstream media, and I know this is what God's telling me, Jane, stay in your lane and share about the security situation, that now everything is on high alert, that now another Jew was attacked in the old city, in Judea and Samaria. So that's what I know God has called me to do. And it's tough, and it's painful, and I'm carrying a lot of trauma. I'm carrying a lot of trauma in my body that's manifesting in physical injuries. But having said all of that, I am beyond blessed to be here and to try and be that voice. And especially, I'm not doing it for anyone sitting in Denmark or in America or in Austria. I'm doing this because the Jewish people deserve that there's at least one tiny little voice who is trying to say this is what's coming against the Jewish people. When the United Nations again thought it was important to have an emergency meeting Was that to come against the Palestinian Authority to say, stop using $500 million, many of the money we give you, to pay for the murder of Jewish people? Stop murdering Jewish children and Jewish grandmothers in the streets. Is that why the United Nations came together? No. They came together to condemn Jewish people, descendants, people who is only here in Israel today because someone survived the Holocaust. They came together to condemn that they are building in the biblical heartland of Israel. That Jews are building in Judea and Samaria. How dare they? How dare they? How dare they even be present in East Jerusalem? Unbelievable. So I will continue to speak the truth and speak the facts, which is when you open the Bible, you're reading the history of Israel. And when you hear the lies, the propaganda, the pro-Palestinian lie, that is actually calling the Bible a lie. So for you and for me who knows that the Bible is true, because it's the history of Israel, we have a job to do. We have a big job to do. And that's simply all I'm trying to do. One small town Danish girl who relocated here to Israel, who doesn't have co-workers. I don't go to a radio station, a TV station, or a newspaper every day with a ton of co-workers, with a regular salary, and with the boss saying, here's a job, go cover this story. I cover this story, I go home and I'm off. My phone is never off. I'm watching the news 24/7, 365. I'm never off. And I do it all alone, year after year after year after year, because someone has to speak up for the Jewish people. And that's what God has called me to do. It's tough, it's painful, it's beyond traumatizing. I'm sitting here speaking to you with my phone that has a cracked screen and a computer that's 9 years old. But God says, what you have in your hand, use it. So sorry, just speaking from my heart a little bit. Pray for Israel for such a time as this, as we are on high alert. We will see how the next 48 hours develops. Thank you for standing with Israel. Bye.